Hello, this is Margot Rose of Bodyware Grieving, and it seems like the content is coming so fast. I need to switch to audio podcasts to get more of these discussions out to you sooner. I was talking recently with one of my friends who's got one of her intimate friends is going through a very severe illness, and she mentioned that this friend is becoming more and more kind of sensitive and even kind of irritable and sort of snapping at some of the friends in her life as people are, wanting to socialize with her and they're wanting to, help her with her treatments and things like that. And my friend seemed very confused that this woman who's so sick would be sort of lashing out in an uncharacteristic way amongst her community of people who are wanting to be supportive with her. And I really understood that, actually. And I saw that happen in some of the, people in my family's life who got sick, and it was really surprising that they weren't wanting to connect. The people who are about to lose somebody they love are wanting to connect and feel close, but that the person themselves, who in these cases sounds like they're dying, were actually doing these behaviors that were having the effect of creating some distance. And it's something that I eventually just named reverse adolescence. I have the sense like when kids are really bonded with their parents, they're super, super cute and they tend to be very endearing. And then the stereotypical behavior when people approach adolescence is that there's going to be a little more conflict. There's going to be the potential for what we would refer to as like quote unquote bratty behavior and behavior that produces more distance between the child who's becoming more independent now and wanting more space and their parent. And eventually, if things become conflicted enough, by the time it's time for the kid to leave the house, everyone's kind of glad. Everyone's kind of glad that there's going to be this bigger separation as the child, then a young adult, goes off to be more independent. And I've observed something similar happening when a person knows they're dying. And I think there's two parts to it. I think one part is that it's really, really hard to be nice and kind when you're just physically so uncomfortable the way many of these illnesses, and specifically the treatments for many of these illnesses, can make people pretty miserable. And that's part of it. It's just hard to think outside yourself. It's just hard to think outside yourself when your own body and potentially the pain in your own body is so absorbing. But I really think it's more to this distancing. I don't think it's conscious necessarily, certainly not conscious to the person who's going through it. But I think it would be so sad to be sitting there surrounded by your friends, for example, at a gathering and looking around the room and knowing that if you're a person who's inclined to be passing away soon, you're looking around the room and looking at this whole group of people that you're losing at the same time. It's so painful for each of those individuals to think about losing the one person who's sick, but to turn that around for the moment and see it from the perspective who's sick, they're losing everybody they love at the same time. And I could see that you might end up with some sort of prickly behavior that created some distance so that you weren't so intimate as you're trying to deal with perhaps this understanding that you're going to be losing people. So I know my friend, as she was going through, was kind of shocked and surprised and a little saddened that, this woman friend that everyone's wanting to be loving towards was being kind of standoffish in different ways. But I really understand it. And I think if we can just see it in the bigger picture that if, perhaps it's just a way to make things seem that much less painful when a separation actually does occur. I don't think it's something we should all take personally, is sort of what I'm saying. I know my brother was really sad. My brother had very, very, just these gorgeous, beautiful young children. And when my dad was sick, my brother took his children to go say basically goodbye to my dad, who's normally the kindest, sweetest man even possible. And my brother walked away very surprised and disappointed that my dad was kind of snippy and impatient and not really connecting to these two gorgeous little young children that kind of didn't know what was going on. And actually that moment was the moment I first coined this term of reverse adolescence. I think it was just too inconceivable for my father that he wasn't going to get to be a grandfather at that point, and that he didn't want to feel connected to these children when he knew he was that sick. So we're just all trying to learn from each other here. We're just trying to share wisdom. We want it to be the least amount of pain and the most amount of smoothness as we all go through these different transitions and potentially face, losing our family members, losing our friends, or if we're ourselves the person who's ailing and perhaps not even understanding our own behavior. That's just one suggestion of something I've observed, and perhaps we can feel slightly consoled by that. So I'd love to hear if you have some ideas if something similar or something completely different has happened in your life. I would love to hear about it in the comment section. This is Margot Rose of Body Aware Grieving, and we're just trying to, live and learn together. Best wishes to you. Take care.